It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast on this September the 8th, 2025. Coming to you from Forest, Virginia, from my studio right outside of Lynchburg. This show is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by Chillie's Cruises. We have a special guest this morning, folks, which I'll get to in just a second. When we get back to the news portion of today's show, I do have a few headlines to go over, and we'll get to that eventually. Cruise guest killed in a freak Ketchikan accident. The Keel laid for Carnival Festivale. Also this morning, free Wi-Fi coming to Southwest Airlines. Disney Fantasy completely reroutes a cruise. Pittsburgh woman charged after using 40,000 GoFundMe for a cruise. Haiti canceled again. Police board a gigantic Disney ship. 2 passengers overboard from BC Ferries. And a ship suffers significant damage with a wreck with a pier. That and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning. So we got a lot to do today. Today, folks, is National Star Trek Day. Fans across the globe celebrate Star Trek Day today to remember the timeless legacy Star Trek has made on society and pop culture. Unfortunately, folks, I'm not a Trekker. My niece Amanda is a Trekker, so I have to listen to Trek crap all the time. So, I might as well be a Trekker. This date in history in 1966, just so we're keeping things straight, folks. Star Trek premiered with its first aired episode on TV. All right, if you're a podcast person, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat guy. We do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then if something major happens, we can always pop up and do a show any other day. So, all right, so welcome back to Chillie Chats on the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast, where we share inspiring stories and conversations at the intersection of travel, lifestyle, and community. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Andrew Mitchell, the Executive Director of AdapteeGolf and AdapteeGolf.com, a platform dedicated to making the game of golf more inclusive and accessible for people with disabilities. Through adaptive equipment, community resources, and powerful storytelling, AdapteeGolf is showing the world that golf truly is a game for everyone. So, guys, grab your clubs or maybe your headphones and let's talk a little bit about golf and adaptive golf. Andrew, welcome to the Chillie Chats Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast.
Hey, Chillie. Thank you for having me. Everybody listening and watching, thanks for checking in and checking us out. I'm so excited to get to tell our story anywhere I get to go. So
Okay. The first thing I have to ask you a question before we get into the story.
Yeah.
Now I go back about 100 years ago when I was still ambulatory and out playing golf. They used to raise hell about carts in the fairways. Obviously, carts were not allowed on the green. I mean, my wheelchair is roughly the same, with my fat butt in it, is roughly the same weight as a golf cart. do they allow wheelchairs on golf courses?
There's a short answer and a long answer. All right, short answer is yes,
Okay.
just flat out yes. The long answer is our players, most of our players, because of our very generous funding from the Craig Nielsen Foundation, are players living with quadriplegia. So they use motorized wheelchairs. The wheelchairs alone are 350, 400 pounds. And so we have learned a series of boundaries and methods to be able to be there on the golf course, but also maintain the integrity of the golf course and leave it in better shape than we found it. So,
Awesome.
um, it's kind of like from the Boy Scouts, right? Like leave no trace camping. If you're out there, you're out there playing, you're out there with your caddy and your caregiver, and your caddy and your caregiver are going to be mindful about any marks you leave on the course and be able to fix it properly with sand and different repair tools and all that stuff. And then in terms of specifically the greens, our players do not go on the greens.
Okay.
And we'll get into how that works in terms of putting, as we get deeper into understanding adaptee golf.
Yes.
But it's all via communication. And this, for the visual folks, this handy dandy pendulum putter that my boss invented and our engineer, so Josh Basil, and then our engineer out in Rob in Minneapolis, Rob Woodlick, perfected. And so through a lot of experimentation and a lot of communication, we have a sheet that our players will look at, and they'll guide their caddy to pull the putter back to a certain degree, right? And so, like, if I pull that putter back to 35 degrees and the protractor on the front of it's pointing straight at the ground with 35 pointing straight at the ground, we know it's going to go 10 feet every time. And so that's how all of our players putt. We don't go on the greens. We maintain the integrity of every space that we enter. And then the only other sort of caveat that I'll say that our players have to be mindful of that maybe able-bodied golfers don't have to think about quite as much is, let's say it's a day that's cart path only. It rained like a monsoon the day before. I'll never send players out on a day that's cart path only, just because it is so difficult to effectively navigate the course without either getting stuck yourself or totally ripping up all the grass on the course.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. All right. So give us some background now.
Yeah.
How did Adaptee Golf come to be, and how did you become involved?
So you got to go back 21 years. Josh Basil, dear friend of mine, the owner and the guy that runs the whole show over at Spinalpedia and Determined to Heal. He was boogie boarding on a Delaware beach. A wave picked him up, slammed him into an improperly maintained sandbar, and his boogie board caught the edge and flipped him forward and snapped his neck. So that day, Josh became C4-5 quadriplegic. He barely survived underwater for about 5 minutes until his friends found him, got him out, got to Maryland shock trauma, and started the recovery process. And once he could breathe and speak on his own, the first words he said to his dad were, "Are we making our tea time?" Loves golf, absolutely loves golf. And, he has this traumatic, life-changing event occur. And the first thing he's thinking about is like, all right, when am I getting back out on the golf course? And, the recovery process starts. He gets back home. He starts building his new life. And part of that process is dreaming constantly about how do I get back out on that golf course? And so it started with the pendulum putter, just putting. And that was a great start. He got 2 patents on the device, and then added slingshots. And so we've got slingshots that your caddy, your assistant, will be using to place the ball in this pocket here. And slingshot rests on your wrist, and then you maneuver your arm at different angles to be able to create a ball flight that your player wants. And then you pull it back a certain distance on your arm. So we know if I put this device, the slingshot, at 75 degrees and pull it back right to my elbow and then open my hand, that ball is going to go 10 yards every time, and it'll stop pretty much on a dime. And so with that, the game started to grow, and Josh was able to play from the fairways. And then the sort of final crowning moment of all of this is a few years ago when I'm working as Josh's caregiver. We were watching a video that Rick Shields did on a swingless driver made by Power2Golf, Easy Golf Company. And Rick Shields is like standing up there holding this club and saying, okay, guys, here this thing is. It doesn't swing. It's like a turbocharged pool cue. I don't know why I'm reviewing this, but here we go. And Josh and I looked right at each other and we're like, us. That's why you're reviewing it. It's for us. And we were so thrilled. He bought it that day. I think before the video even ended, like I don't think he finished lunch. He had already put the order in. And it just became a shared dream to, once we got it out on the course and we saw we could now play from the tee box with all the other able-bodied golfers, it's like, well, how can we be the only ones experiencing this? We've got to get this out to the rest of the country, to the rest of the golf world. So that's the sort of abridged version of how we got here. It takes a community effort. It takes your caregivers helping out along the way. It takes forming relationships with able-bodied folks that can be your caddy, and their job is be an able-bodied caddy up to the point that a player says, "Okay, I am ready to hit my shot," and then at that point, you as the caddy, it's just brain goes off. You're there to take direction. You're making zero choices. You faithfully create the exact shot your player has asked for. And if you do it correctly, you're going to hit a lot of bad shots because that's how golf is. You hit a lot of bad shots. And the fun part is, just goofing up and then getting a little frustrated and getting motivated and getting better. So that's it in a nutshell.
All right. So the first question that popped up, come on, phone. The first question that popped up was you've mentioned a caregiver. What about somebody like me that is disabled and in a chair, but I don't have a caregiver?
So I say caregiver in terms of folks safely navigating the course using motorized wheelchairs without being able to quickly or at all be able to use any sort of hand dexterity to maneuver themselves around the course. And so it becomes a safety component where, as you're navigating imperfect grass terrain, it's really important to have an extra set of hands to be able to act as a safety net. But also, like, sometimes you're going to want an umbrella out there. Sometimes you need water. Sometimes you need to do a pressure release. So, these are all things that in the quad community, it's just considerations. When you go out and do something, you've got to have that ready to go. Now, I will say for our para golfers that moving through grass in a traditional, not assisted wheelchair that's going to be a challenge. You're covering 2.5 miles. And so for the para golfers I have worked with, they have attachments or wheel assist, flywheel. There's a number of things that will help you navigate that terrain without, feeling like you need to look like Arnold to, get from A to B.
Well, even in my case, I use a Will C2, which has pretty wide tires and goes in grass. My
Hmm.
other chair, which is a little bit lighter but still a full size chair, it doesn't go in grass for crap. It's got
Hmm.
smaller tires. So that's why I have a pool, thankfully. So to get out to my pool, if I tried to use my older chair, I'd never get there. My will gets me out there all the time.
Gotcha.
So, um, all right. So now you guys got the basis of starting AdapteeGolf. And I'm sure you came up with some kind of a mission statement. And does that mission of AdapteeGolf fit your mission with what you're doing with AdapteeGolf?
Well, we have uh, a few big dreams. Maybe put it that way, right? Someday we want to be present enough nationally for both the USGA and the PGA to look at us and go, "Oh, this is serious. This could grow the game of golf permanently." So with that come two things. The USGA manages your ability to maintain what's called a handicap, and that is effectively your average score when you play. Uh, it's a number that you have that says this is the number of shots that should be taken to complete a round of 9 or 18 holes, and this is how far above that I am on average.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you want to go and play a fun, casual, not professional event, so that's 99.9 of us that will ever play this game, you have to have that number to be able to sign up for the event. And currently, our players do not have a way to maintain that number. So that's a dream. That's a very long-term goal, is to get enough folks involved that on a national level, the USGA creates a rule set, hopefully works with us to codify a rule set so that everybody can play everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, on the PGA teaching side, that's more about availability of professional teachers. That there's one of me. I wish I could have 100. I could just pop them around the country. And so that's the other big dream is how do we get local institutions to buy into what we're doing, rehab networks that are already hosting adaptive golf opportunities for people. How do we get everyone working together to create learning opportunities for folks that look at this and go, oh my goodness, I could go, hang with my friends on the golf course. I want to go do that. And that's what I'm working hard to do every day. On the micro level, what that looks like is creating a presence locally, then regionally, then nationally. So locally, we've done clinics with folks out in Las Vegas, with Driven Las Vegas. We've gone out to Braemar in Minneapolis, and they were just incredible. Braemar and the Loop at Chaska, if you're out in the Minneapolis area, just wonderful facilities, great staff. Can't speak highly enough about them. And then Franklin Bridge down in Nashville, Tennessee.
Let's see.
Yep. And again, just incredible staff, totally engaged. They wanted to learn, teach, and be a part of it day one. And then finally here in Maryland, Silver Spring, Dave DeGirolamo and his son Nick, they adopted us like right away, right out of the gate. First round, they saw it, they got it. They've hosted multiple events with us. Josh has competed against Dave and Nick, defeated them twice. I mean, these guys are guys that have played golf their entire lives, and we got out there and we showed our stuff, and so we've had two events like that there, and then we've also done a clinic there, and so it's all these little things that are creating stories locally. And now with a few news stories under our belt and a few podcasts and a lot of conversations on the local level, it's starting to feel like some regional actors, some folks that control, say, the Mid-Atlantic PGA region are sort of taking notice and supporting us. Lynn Hunter, head pro at my golf course over at Kenwood Country Club, she has been behind us 100% from day one. She loves what we're doing, and she's the president of the Mid Atlantic chapter. I hope I'm getting that right, of the PGA Teachers of America. So she's helped me try to plug in with things like the Honor Our Patriots Everywhere program that's supported by the PGA, and just how do we start teaching on a broader level that this is available and that you can learn from someone who's not me. So that's the next part of the dream. That's what we're building towards now.
And what's your background that got you on this journey?
Oh, I thought I was going to be a tornado chaser when I was a kid. I thought I was going to be which my parents loved. Then I thought I was going to be a terrorist negotiator because I watched too many, action movies on Saturday morning. No, the real answer is I started out thinking I was going to be a clinical therapist. I love to engage with people about the things that make their life either sad or difficult or somehow create a barrier to their joy. And how do I create a game plan to get you past it and support you and work with you to get from A to B to C to live a better, happier life. So that's sort of that's the common thread here. I had to, work with my own challenges because of a pretty gnarly injury that, took a few years out of my life and took me a little while to finish my undergrad and my master's. But I did make a pivot into industrial organizational psychology because I had started working with Josh as a caregiver, and I started to learn from him all the elements of what does accessibility look like in life, in a business. How do you build accessibility from A, not from J, right? So like from the very start, how do we create businesses that are welcoming and inviting and take advantage of talent that is just overlooked to, great loss to businesses. It's a talent pool that I learned is just not taken advantage of, in a positive way. That's just a part of the workforce that needs to be more engaged. And so I wanted to learn, well, how do I do my part? How do I play my part in helping folks find employment? So that's when I got to work with United Spinal. I got to do an internship with their Pathways to Employment program. And so all these like different little methods of how do I help people started to coalesce, then this swingless driver came along, and we pretty quickly had that shared dream. We applied for a grant from the Craig Nielsen Foundation, and here I am. And I feel like I won the lottery. That this is my job.
The amazing thing about it, I mean, I look at my life and all the physical and mental challenges I've had from my disabilities. And for me, it was cruising in this community that have kept me alive. I probably would have given up and died, 10 years ago. But I believe in getting out of bed every day and doing something.
Yeah.
And that's been, my vehicle to do it. Man, I could see getting into your golf. It's just as much.
Well, we never, with major grants, you never really get a detailed, or it's unusual to get a real detailed answer why you do or don't receive funding. But I'm really convinced that right there, that piece you just stated about going on cruises and developing community and giving yourself that reason to get up and challenge yourself every morning. That's an argument I made in our application that I thought really got our hooks in. It was hard to deny the power of community. and that's what we're trying to build, and I think we're doing it successfully.
And in today's world, I, I never have the numbers bounce all over the place, but you're looking at somewhere one out of every five people has some type of disability.
Hmm.
So I mean, disabilities come in all kinds of forms, but still, that's resources that's virtually untapped because still the biggest percentage of them, despite everything that you do and everything that I do, the biggest percentage of that community sits at home and feels sorry for themselves.
It it can be an incredibly difficult um, mental position to get out of,
Yeah.
and it often takes a lot of hard pushing from the people around you that love you.
Yeah.
To that starting energy is tough. Um, so we want to be a component of that starting energy and that drive to, like, I missed a shot on the third hole yesterday. I don't feel great about, like, say, a bad doctor's appointment, or like maybe a relationship's in a tough spot, but I want to go back and I want to do better on that third hole. And it's just it's a tug. It's not something that's lifting you entirely, but it really does pull you to go in a more positive direction because it gives you something to strive for.
Do you have a favorite story about an adaptive golfer
Oh,
that
favorites.
embodes the mission that you guys have set out?
There's so many. Golly. Okay, one that makes me tear up a little bit every time I get to share it, is so our first clinic was out in Las Vegas, and the terrain was a little tough at the course we were out at, but we figured out how to make things work, and one of the guys who was out there braved the heat and the terrain, and he was an avid competitive golfer pre spinal cord injury. And he was a little skeptical, as an avid able-bodied golfer, to be in this position, to hear me say to him, "Hey, do you want to compete again? I'm going to give you that chance." Um, okay, so we go out there and we were playing with him and another gentleman that joined us, and they're playing a scramble, which means that you take the best shot
Yeah.
from each shot. So it's like co-op golf, which is kind of why I love it, right? You're automatically making a new friend when you go out there and play with somebody else. And they're having a great time. And we get up to, I think it was the 15th hole, Painted Desert Golf Club. Shout out to Painted Desert. You guys were wonderful. You worked with us to create accessibility with a few challenges in front of us. So it was great. And we're out of the 15th hole. We get up to the tee box. It's a par three over water, wind in the face, and oh, did I lose you there, Chillie? Do I still have you, Chillie?
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay, there you are. I can hear you, but I don't see you moving. Got you back.
Hey, wow. Now let me see if I'm on the air.
Okay. It does say on my end.
I'm saying live and I'm working on this end. I think I'm back. Wow. That was totally weird. I'm not sure what caused it. Okay. Do you have any idea where you were on your story when that crashed?
Yeah, I was talking about a player out in Las Vegas who was a competitive
Yeah.
golfer pre-injury, and they were already a few shots under par, approaching a pretty tough par three, and there was a lot of wind in our face, and we were over water, and then it was a pretty small green was a target, and so I gave him what I thought was my best advice as a caddy to do what we thought we needed to do, and he just moves right up and he's like, no, dummy, this is how you do it. And without having practiced it at all, he just intuitively knew, all right, I'm going to have you angle the club in such a way that it shoots the ball under the wind, and then the ball is going to sort of pop up a little bit at the end, and we're going to just roll right up to the green. And that's called a stinger. And I didn't know we could do that. I didn't know that was an option with the swingless club. And so I had the opportunity to learn from one of our players instead of the other way around. And they ended up birdieing the hole. And they nearly had a hole in one. His drive landed 10 feet in front of the hole, and it just rolled up across the cup and then like got a little bit redirected by the edge of the cup, and then they sunk the putt. And it was like, I mean, it just really stuck with me. That was really cool to see that kind of creativity and engagement right from square one. So I want to say those guys finished their round at either 4 or 5 under. They had a good time out there.
Yeah. Where do you see adaptive golf going in, say, the next 5 years? Do you think you'll see it national?
Okay, 5 years. I would like to have a rule set that the USGA supports, and I would like to at least have an experimental class of golfers that do not complete a swing path using our series of equipment that is supported by the USGA and the US Adaptive Golfers Association, so that we could at least at the very least, put on a demonstration at the US Adaptive Open.
There is an Adaptive Golf Association?
Yes, USAGA. I believe I'm
beyond
right.
you guys.
So I mean, there are so many versions of adaptive golf that we're just a tiny little piece of that puzzle right now.
Okay.
There's multiple different classes of players, players with mobility disabilities, neurological disabilities, blind players. It's supported, and we want to be part of that support network, because truly there are so many reasons. Now we are starting with supporting the quadriplegic community, but beyond the quad community, there are so many reasons why you may lose the ability to complete a swing path. And that doesn't mean you should lose the ability to golf. So that's the other dream in 5 years, is anybody in every state in the country would somewhere in that state have access to the knowledge and the equipment that would allow them to continue to play. Now that's going to be a tall order, but if we keep growing the way that we are, and we keep getting interest from from rehab networks that already have adaptive sports as a part of their programming, I think it's, with a lot of hard work and dedication, I think it's achievable.
What advice would you give a disabled person? Let's use me as an example.
Sure.
What advice would you give me that would be curious about trying to play golf again?
Take a lesson with me. that's
Okay.
specifically if you want to lean into Adaptee. But if you want to, if you find that you have enough level of function that you can swing the golf club, there's just something that makes it challenging or difficult. I would look up U.S. Adaptive Golf representatives in your area and see if there's any events, see if there's any teachers that are certified to work with folks with disabilities. And most PGA teaching professionals that are dedicated to their craft make this a part of their learning regimen. And so you'd be surprised how much knowledge maybe is not right out there up front or well, clearly, brightly advertised, but it's there. The PGA really has committed to growing the game of golf for everybody. And their teachers follow that commitment pretty seriously. So that's another recommendation I would make. I know that just based on my experience at the U.S. Adaptive Open at Woodmont this year out in Rockville, I got to meet with a couple of the engineers and sort of the wizards that are creating adaptive equipment from Ping and TaylorMade, I want to say. And I mean, the drive is there. These guys are really creative with what they're able to do for these players that have challenges that are unique to each player. So the knowledge and the equipment, it's there. It just takes a little effort to find it. And so starting with finding a PGA professional who has dedicated themselves to working with players with disabilities and understanding how to maintain a fun experience is where I would start, because they're all hooked into nationwide networks. That if they don't have an answer, they're going to find someone for you that does.
One of my listeners asked a question in the chat room.
Yep.
That's interesting. How could we start with adaptive miniature golf on cruise ships, since so much of our audience are cruisers?
So I know in Gaithersburg, we have a miniature golf course that is fully accessible for people that use wheelchairs of any kind. And we are able to take this collapsible, pendulum putter here and maneuver that easily around that golf course. If you can maneuver your wheelchair through the miniature golf course on the cruise ship, that putting device, as long as you've got someone else that's there to be able to move it around and operate it,
to move it
in conjunction with you, that'll work. It really doesn't take up that much room. It's just a quadruped situation that collapses, and then you pick it up, move it to the next thing, and off you go. So totally doable as long as the facility is wheelchair accessible.
Ah, man, so now you got my wheels spinning.
Now you want to buy one.
Of how we could start that going on cruise ships too.
I think that's totally doable. I think that is so right in line with the spirit of what we want, and so much of this, broadly speaking, this is what works for Josh, and this is what works for our players starting out. It's supposed to be scaffolding that you build your game off of. Like yesterday, I was teaching a brand new player who figured out, okay, my dad wants to help as a caddy, right? But his shoulder strength is not stellar. So doing the slingshot thing was a bit of a physical challenge. So he rigged up a slingshot on top of a 6-foot-long pole, and then his dad could just plant it on his foot and then pull back the slingshot, and they were doing great. And so, that's not something I created or thought of or implemented, but now it's a part of AdapteeGolf, because it's how he was able to adapt and overcome that challenge.
Yeah.
And so this stuff right now, for fun and to get out there and enjoy the game, is not very rigid in terms of following the rules. Now, long term, we will have a competitive rule set that will have to be fairly strict to be adopted by the USGA. You want to go onto a cruise and figure out how to make this thing work for you, though, like, do what you want. Do what works for you. That's the point of all of this. Is fun. So,
all right. So you're up in Maryland. So I want to get started with Adaptee. I take it you set appointments with dummies like me, and we get together and you teach.
well, dummies like you set appointments with dummies like me. That's
Right.
Yeah. I'll send out my little calendar booking thing, and the way I always like to start is we'll do an hour with the swingless driver and the slingshot doing the longer shots, and then we'll do another hour chipping and putting.
Okay.
And with that 2 hours under your belt, you will have an understanding of how to approach every part of the game. And at that point, I will feel comfortable having taught you all the safety navigation tips and temperature management and, creating a game plan for your specific needs out on the golf course to be able to take you out at Sligo Creek and play 9 holes.
All right. What's the cost?
It is free 99. That is all part of our grant funding within our 4 cities that we're starting in. So our funding takes care of all the equipment. It takes care of the rounds. It takes care of the practice. Montgomery County, let me get this right. The Montgomery County Revenue Authority, run by Keith Miller, stepped up and covered a lot of our costs. Huge support from them. I mean, they're incredible. So it's just the transportation it takes to get you there. That's the cost.
Yeah. Okay. What? My wheels are definitely spinning right now. So.
I hope yours and many others. I mean, it's this whole journey's been so much fun. And I just want to share it with everybody. I want everyone to get a chance that wants to try it.
Well, I can just see just from the cruising community. I mean, some of my friends that are quads or other issues that have them full time in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
I could, like Corey Lee, Curb Free with Corey Lee. I could see him getting into this in a heartbeat.
Well, Chillie, how about this? You're connected in with the cruise world. I'm sure you know the folks that make these things accessible and enjoyable and keep bringing you back. Why don't we find a way to get one of these cruise lines to just buy these putters and have them available for people?
That's already where I'm thinking.
You don't have to bring it yourself. It's just there ready for you, ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's sort of another long-term dream of ours, is that we want we don't want it to be a checkout process for me or any of our site ambassadors anymore. We want people to go to places where the golf is in the same way that you could rent a set of able-bodied clubs, or you could check out accessibility equipment that many golf courses have invested in at this point. This should be part of it. This should be part of that package. Like when a cruise says that they're accessible for you to be able to enjoy their amenities and their fun, that means that this should be available
part of it
on that mini golf course.
I'm way ahead of you. And every cruise I go on, thankfully, I'm working with somebody on the good and the bad and the ugly about their accessibility issues. Whether they need to do this or this is done really well. And I cover the whole ship and then sit down with the special needs coordinator for that particular vessel and go over my notes before I leave the ship. So,
well, we'd love to be able to hook you up with one of these, send you on a cruise, and let you just work your magic. Let them see what it could look like. Because
okay, well,
what we see it can look like out at Sligo Creek and Franklin Bridge and Painted Desert and Chaska, the Loop, it's joy. It's just it's folks that have never swung a golf club in their life accessing golf for the first time and loving it, and it's folks that played at high levels of competition, D1 college golf, getting to access all those really incredible shots they could hit as an able-bodied golfer. It's back in their life now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
let's find a way to keep spreading that joy around the world.
I I'm so excited about this because at one time, believe it or not, for an old fat guy, I played to a non-handicap.
There you go.
So I was a decent golfer.
You've got, that means that just etched in stone in that noggin of yours is the knowledge that it takes to make good decisions on the golf course, and you could do that with all this equipment.
Okay, we're gonna get together.
Yeah,
I will promise you that.
Yeah, good.
I'll get with you and I'll set something up and drive up to Maryland and let's play some. Like teach me.
I will say we're filming our teaching videos right now at Twin Lakes in Clifton, Virginia. So that's
sweet.
That's where my editor lives, and so he and I meet up out at Twin Lakes, and they, again, just a wonderful facility. They've been very supportive of us. There's folks on staff there that worked at the U.S. Adaptive Open, so they get it. And they've been very inviting and supportive, which has been really nice. And then I know Jefferson and Pinecrest are both 9-hole facilities that we've played at that are great for adaptee golfers. So I think I want to say the Alexandria area, if I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Correctly.
I'm near in Washington area.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's freaking awesome. That's just great. All right. I hate to put an end to this, but I got to do some news here, and I'm about running out my hour.
I mean, I could prattle on for another hour, so you better cut me off.
Well, we will do this again, Andrew, my friend. I'll promise you on that.
Love it.
And again, thank you so much for being here. Now my voice is going. Anyway, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And we'll get together real soon. All right. So that's been Andrew Mitchell. Thanks, Andrew. We'll see you next time. All right. So I'll be back with the news, folks, after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. All right, guys, so we're going to start off with the news portion of today's show. I'll tell you what, we're not going to start off with the news portion. We got to start off with the weather because some people might have been sitting here thinking they were going to see the weather first. Well, that ended up real quickly. Nothing in the Atlantic, folks. If you guys are sailing this next week, don't have anything to worry about, at least for now. Not so out in the Pacific. Kiko is approaching Hawaii. It is still a Category 2 hurricane carrying 85-mile-an-hour winds. It's moving about 15 miles an hour. Minimum pressure still holding steady at 984. This is expected to skirt to the north of the Hawaiian Islands. Probably Tuesday and Wednesday. The risk of direct impact on the islands continues to decrease as we go along. Interest there should continue to watch Kiko's progress and the latest forecasts. Swells generated by Kiko are expected to gradually build and are forecast to peak along east-facing exposures of the Hawaiian Islands late today through the middle of the week, potentially producing life-threatening surf and rip currents. Listening to the latest updates from Hawaii, especially Honolulu. And then back over closer to us, is the next disturbance in the Pacific. The tropical wave entering the far eastern Pacific from Central America, forecast to spawn an area of pressure by the middle to later portion of this week. Gradual development of the system is possible. They're saying 0% chance over the next 48 hours, but 30% over the next 7 days. Still too early to tell if this is going to stay completely at sea or if it's going to bear more to the north and northeast and bring it on land. So we'll have to follow that one as we go. So that's the weather. All right. So the first news story today. Well, sorry about my throat going out on me there. Let's get started here, folks. From up in Ketchikan, Alaska.
What should have been a day of sightseeing in Alaska's scenic port of Ketchikan turned tragic on Sunday morning, when a cruise passenger lost her life in a freak traffic accident. Authorities say the victim, a 57-year-old woman from Auburn, Indiana, was struck and killed after a parked vehicle suddenly accelerated, broke through a fence, and plunged into Ketchikan Creek near the popular Creek Street area. Several pedestrians were hit as the car lurched forward. In the chaos, bystanders, both tourists and local residents, rushed to the scene to help. Witnesses say Dylan Self, one of the rescuers, used a rock to shatter the car's window and pulled the driver from the rapidly sinking vehicle. He then performed CPR until emergency crews arrived. The woman who died has not yet been publicly identified by authorities. Investigators are still working to determine what caused the vehicle to accelerate. A traditional keel laying ceremony took place this week at the Meyer Werft shipyard in Papenburg, Germany for Carnival Festivale, Carnival Cruise Line's fourth Excel-class ship. The vessel is scheduled for delivery in spring 2027. Guests booked on Disney Fantasy's upcoming sailing are in for a surprise itinerary change. Instead of a 7-night British Isles cruise, the ship will now head east to visit ports in Norway and Belgium, avoiding poor weather conditions along the UK's west coast. Disney Cruise Line announced the change just 2 days before embarkation, citing guest safety and experience as top priorities. The vessel is currently homeported from Southampton and will still depart and return there as scheduled. The revised itinerary is as follows: Monday, September 8th, depart Southampton. Tuesday, September 9th, day at sea. Wednesday, September 10th, Haugesund, Norway, replacing Cobh, Ireland. Thursday, September 11th, Olden, Norway, replacing Liverpool, England. Friday, September 12th, Stavanger, Norway, replacing Glasgow, Scotland. Saturday, September 13th, day at sea. Sunday, September 14th, Zeebrugge, Belgium, replacing Portland, England. Monday, September 15th, return to Southampton. While the ship's sailing dates remain the same, the new itinerary avoids rough seas that could have disrupted the original schedule. The fall months are one of the best times to visit Orlando, with smaller crowds, cooler weather, and better deals. That's why we've extended our discounts on mobility equipment rentals until the end of November. This offer is also valid for popular locations like Disney World, Universal Studios, and SeaWorld. Orlando mobility rentals are 15% off until November 30th and 20% off if you pick up directly from our Scootaround location. Call Scootaround at 1-888-441-7575 and use SRN 11137, or call Chillie at 434-258-9264. Southwest Airlines will offer free Wi-Fi to its Rapid Rewards members starting October 24th. The service, provided by T-Mobile, will be available on more than 800 aircraft. Passengers must have a Rapid Rewards account to access the free in-flight internet. When a cousin was seriously injured in a motorcycle crash, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area resident Vanessa Lewis had good intentions of helping. In August 2024, she set up a GoFundMe campaign to support his recovery, drawing in more than $40,000 in donations. but investigators allege that the money was never used for medical care. Instead, they say Lewis spent the funds on herself, including a cruise. The investigation began when the injured man's father saw photos of Lewis posted on social media while she was on a cruise. He soon discovered the account's funds had dwindled and contacted the police. The police report revealed the account had over $40,000 in August 2024, but by March 24, 2025, it had been reduced to just over $3,000. Authorities say Lewis allegedly withdrew or transferred more than $37,000 from the account. One of the largest expenses they uncovered was a $6,200 payment tied to a Carnival cruise line ship sailing out of Miami. It is unclear what ship Lewis was on. Carnival Paradise sailed from Tampa in 2024, and then Miami-based ships like Carnival Horizon, Carnival Sunrise, Carnival Magic, Carnival Conquest, or Carnival Celebration are possibilities. Police also found evidence of a wire transfer of more than $21,000 to another account. Meanwhile, the injured man's family said they never received any help from the fundraiser. Royal Caribbean has extended the cancellation of visits to Labadee, Haiti for another 6 months. 8 different Royal Caribbean ships will have dozens of itineraries adjusted for the port's continued closure. Various alternative ports are being arranged for impacted sailings wherever possible. All of these itinerary changes, affecting more than 1/4 of the Royal Caribbean fleet, are being made out of an abundance of caution due to violence in Haiti. During the month of September, you can save 15% on mobility devices site-wide in our online mobility store. Shop for scooters, electric wheelchairs, walkers, accessories, and more. Additionally, on wheel mobility devices, save up to $600 on models C2, F and R. Just call the Scootaround Mobility Store. Call 1-844-664-7467. Use code September 15. German Federal Police board the Disney Adventure during a refueling stop as it undergoes sea trials. The police arrested 2 workers with outstanding warrants. Despite the disruption, the ship continues sea trials and remains on schedule for delivery to Disney Cruise Line. Docking a cruise ship is always a delicate maneuver, but for Marais Cruises' MV Gemini, the process ended in significant damage. While arriving in the port of Piraeus, the vessel struck the pier and sustained a large gash above the waterline along the port aft corner. The ship remains tied up at the pier as crews assess the extent of the damage. Video footage shows a lengthy tear in the hull that could affect the ship's seaworthiness. Repairs will need to be completed and fully inspected before the vessel can sail again. The cause of the impact is not yet known. Authorities say factors such as sudden wind gusts, wave swells, or a failure of protective bumpers could have played a role. An official investigation will determine whether operational errors, equipment failure, or environmental conditions contributed to the collision. No injuries were reported, but the incident has left the ship out of service until further notice. A passenger went overboard from the Spirit of British Columbia ferry on Thursday evening during the 5 p.m. crossing between Swartz Bay and Sawasan. The ship operator BC Ferries confirmed that a rescue boat was launched, which recovered the individual and transferred them to a Canadian Coast Guard vessel. On Wednesday, another passenger went into the water during the 1 p.m. sailing near the Sawasan terminal. That case involved a person attempting to retrieve a piece of clothing from the sea.
I hope you got that one, folks. Somebody went overboard on a ferry to get a piece of clothing, like a hat blew off. So they said, oh, let's go overboard. I don't believe it. All right, that puts an end to the news portion of today's show. I'm going to jump over to the chat room real quickly and slide through it in case there's any questions that I missed as we went through it. Roger's with us, Kenneth up in Pennsylvania. There's Joanne, Mike on the other side of the pond. Hot Air Tom says he's a trekker. Well, who wouldn't know that? The guy that's trying to jump on a rocket to go to the Mars. Sonny's with us down in Mississippi. There's Jamin. Hey, Jamin. Bob's with us this morning. Have a great Monday. Over here, Star Trek Day is the 8th of September. As Chillie says, it's the date of the premiere in 1966. That's correct. I saw that reason for the first time this morning in a Facebook feed. I was just trying to figure out the reason when I saw some Facebook post yesterday. Star Wars Day has been known for many years, but I never knew there was a Star Trek Day. Okay, well, there is now. Chillie froze, but Andrew is fine. Oh, so Andrew stayed on. Well, that's cool. Chillie is advertising his cup. Yeah, it froze just as I took a sip, Kenneth. By the way, Kenneth Robbins, the one that made the cup. And yeah, it froze dead on with that in my mouth. He probably has an adult beverage. And no, not this early in the morning, unless it's I work on my vegetable levels with the Bloody Mary. But yeah, no, it's not here. All right, that's everybody saying. I'm trying to remember which hotel this picture is taken at. The one that I used that's on the backstory today. I want to say that was the Boston? Maybe Boston Intercontinental. Hi there, Tom. I would have been sitting on a sofa when I took that picture. Yeah, Daddy, I know. You and Chillie have been to many hotel rooms. How can you even remember? Yeah, no, I don't remember them all at all. You and Cindy's trip was amazing. Love seeing the videos and pictures. Yep. Kenneth says you're back. Okay, so everybody stuck with me. Thank you guys for doing that. How about there was Tom's suggestion about the adaptive. Maria Joseph is with us. Emmanuel reposted this stream. Thank you very much for that. That's one of our ex-folks. How would this work for a blind guy? Well, the people that are blind play golf all the time, my dear Tom. Kudos to Andrew. This is amazing. There's so much we don't know that's available and fun. I gave up on golf as a bowler. I never had a problem getting my ball back. In golf, if I actually had a good drive, my ball disappeared. I could listen to Andrew for 3 more hours. Thank you, Sonny. I think you're probably going to hear more from Andrew in the future, and I think there's going to be some Andrew and Chillies in the future too. I just got a feeling. There's a Blind Golfers Association in England and Wales. The balls beep. How about that? Thanks, Mike. What was the date timestamp on the hotel photo? Oh, good Lord, Tom. I don't know. I don't look at date timestamps. All right, guys. That's going to put into this portion of today's show. Not this portion of today's show. That's going to put an end to this show. I am 9 minutes past the hour mark. I don't like to go past an hour, but what the hell? You guys stuck with me, and we had a terrific guest, so it was easy to go past an hour. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. And a special thanks to Andrew for joining us today, talking about adaptive golf and how he's opening doors and building a confidence and creating a community on and off the course. For our listeners, if you'd like to learn more, get involved, or support adaptive golf, be sure to visit AdapteeGolf.com. ADAPTEE golf.com. And just look for Andrew. He'll be there. I promise you. All right, that's it for today. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you back here on Wednesday. As always, hang in there. See you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie Chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.